Good afternoon, everybody. This is Josh Gary at MagNet's. About 2:05 now. We've waited a couple of extra minutes for folks to trickle in. The good news is we've had outstanding number of registrations. We have a lot of interest in this webinar, which makes me happy and excited. We're going to be talking about a lot of interesting and fun stuff as it relates to our web system today. We're going to leave you in very capable hands with Eric Ristomer, who's our operations manager here, showing you a lot of the new things that we've been up to. If you have any questions, you can follow up with myself or Eric after the call, and I hope you enjoy it.
Thanks, Josh. Okay, everyone. So as I mentioned previously while you're on the call, at this point you should be able to see the magnetdata.net website. And as you can see, we have done some improvements to the website, and I just wanted to point those out. We've actually created this website so that it is actually live in regards to flushing in new hot covers, and that's one of the first things that pops out at a user's eye as they sign in here. So if you're ever sitting at an airport, or if you're ever at your office and you want to see what covers are hot right now, if you go over to the magnetdata.net website, you will see that these covers are here. If you click on one of the covers, it will take you to a full image of that, and you're able to scroll through this. So we just cleaned up the website a little bit, added this functionality, just something neat to point out. Some of you are already users, some of you are thinking about becoming users, so it's important to point out that the main way to get to our reporting tool is by coming to this website and then clicking on this BI login down here. This main website is where anyone can come to find information on our company, find a new news that's out there about Magnet and about the magazine industry. And if you're a user here, you will find that we actually do a newsletter at different frequencies depending on the industry. So if you're interested in something like that, please shoot me an email and we can always include you on that as well. So the first thing that I want to do here is go through the agenda, which should be attached in your invite here to the meeting. And this is also in the most recent email that I sent out. And what we're going to do today is it's going to be a little different than the last webinar we did. The last one was for all existing users, and it was really built to show them how to use the system more efficiently. That webinar lasted roughly 2 hours. We did it a few months ago. It's something that we have out on our website. It's a video, and it's really educational to those of you who already have accounts. If you ever need that link, by all means, shoot me an email and you can watch that. I've found that a lot of users are going back to use that as a reference tool and to help them go through and schedule reports, create reports, and just be more efficient in the business intelligence tool. Today's webinar is going to be a little different. Today's webinar is going to be focused on all the new things that are coming in our business intelligence tool. There's a lot of new data dimensions that we've added. There's a lot of new functionality that we've added. A lot of this stuff is new to us as well, and we're just learning as we go and trying to get this out to our users as fast as we can. So a lot of these are things that are in production already and are available already. And also these are things that we're continuing to grow on and are in development. So the first thing we're going to touch on is the report name and the export. That's something that's been requested. We're going to go into airport and retail location reporting. We're going to show you the dynamic bucket report that'll let you make your own buckets and segregate dealers into different buckets. We also now have mapping technology where we're able to do opportunity reports by state, opportunity reports by regions. We have demographic information where we can create demographics or pick a cosmopolitan or a rural demographic, and we can look at stores only in those demographics. Another thing that we have that we're really excited about is this thing called active reports. Active reports is something that is good for higher level executives to use, because what it is a report that comes to an executive that they can view exclusively offline. What it is an MHT file that's opened in an internet browser, be it on an iPad, be it on an iPhone, an Android, or even a computer, where all the data is in the actual MHT file, and they can change filters and basically do reporting within their own data set of this one report. All of this is available offline, and they can do that while they're in the plane, or they could do that, while they're traveling. And that's something that we're really excited on, and I'll make sure to show you some examples of that. The next two things that are new that we're going to touch on are Business Insights Advanced. These are two different things, although they do sound similar. The first one is Business Insights. It's basically a dashboard creator where you can create your own dashboards and pull in and stream in live data on the magazine industry without a lot of report creation knowledge. So I'll make sure to show you that. And then finally, one huge request that we've had from a lot of our users is that they want to link in their own data with our data. And now I'm happy to say that that's available. So I'm gonna make sure to show you how we can do that now. So you can imagine you have your own data sets, you have your own profitabilities for each title that you publish, let's say, and you can bring in that data and link it with any of the data that you're familiar with at Magnet. So overall, this is a really exciting time for us. Like I said, I hope to run this thing around an hour long. It may run a little long, it may run a little short, but just so you all know, this actual webinar is being recorded as well, so you can get to that after the meeting. I will send an email out with a link to the old webinar as well as this one. So I'm going to go ahead and start. Thanks again for everyone for joining. It looks like we're over 100 participants in today's meeting, so that's great. So what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to go back to our web page, and I'm actually going to click on the BI login, and you'll see that I'm already logged in my own name, okay? And what I've done, similar to what I did last time, is I've created shortcuts to everything that I want to show you all. And I've created those shortcuts and placed them in a folder in my folders. As you all know, we have roughly 110 static reports out there, as well as a business intelligence tool that will let you create your own reporting. So you can go in and do that, and that's what our tool is all about. For today's demonstration, I'm going to focus on the 8 points here that I just discussed in today's agenda. The first one is the report name and export functionality. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this report. This is one of my favorite reports that came out probably about 6 months ago, and this is a target efficiency report that you can actually filter it by chain or by wholesaler. So I'm going to run this report real quickly by chain and wholesaler. Just bear with me real quick, and I will run this report. So I'm going to pick Kroger here. As you can see, it'll let me pick whichever divisions or retail banners of Kroger I want to do. For this example, I'm going to do all of them. I also can pick a select wholesaler set. So for this instance, I am going to pick News Group Atlanta. I'm going to click Next. And then you'll see something that you're probably familiar with, and that's picking a title. So we'll pick People Magazine, and I'm going to go ahead and finish this report. Okay, so you guys are all familiar with this report. This is basically a target efficiency report that rolls up the ONR, the draw sale, dealer count, efficiency into by issue. So this report is very familiar, and many of you export these reports many times per day. And one thing that you may have found to be kind of annoying, at least I did, is that when you exported it, it had a bunch of different letters and numbers as the name of the file. Now what we've actually added is when you export this functionality, what you're going to see here is this report is going to run again, and then it's automatically going to open into my Excel here. And you'll see that the title name of the actual report is the name of the report. So you'll see that up here on the top. Hopefully you can see that. So this way you don't have to automatically resave the file and name it whatever you want. It's going to name this file whatever the name of the actual static report is. So this is a little thing. This is a little simple thing that actually makes life a lot easier. So that's one thing that I wanted to point out. Okay? So I'm going to go home. The second thing that I want to talk about is the ability to do reporting at the airport or retail location level. Okay? So many of you are very familiar with our range comparative reports where you select a title or a group of titles, and then you can pick either multiple issues and compare them against each other, or you can pick different ranges of issues and compare them against each other. In this instance, we're going to do the exact same thing, but instead of looking at it at the wholesaler level, instead of looking at it at the chain level, or instead of looking at it at the dealer level, you're going to be able to look at it at the airport level. So I'm going to click on this report. And the first thing it's going to do is ask me for a wholesaler. So I'm going to pick one that has a lot of airports here. I'm going to pick Hudson North Bergen. This is a great spot to point out that a lot of our reports are becoming a lot more versatile. As you can see, we have optional filters here on a lot of our reports. It's important to point out that optional filters are not required, and if you leave them blank, it's going to be basically like selecting all. So you'll see that a lot of the filters now in our reporting are not required. They're optional, and this lets you actually filter the data down more. So now we have added a lot more optional filters so you can get down to exactly what you're looking for. So I'm going to pick Hudson North Bergen. I'm going to pick that I want to exclude stock accounts. And then it's going to ask me if I want to filter it down to a particular chain HQ. You know, this is an example of an optional filter. If I don't put anything in there, it's going to return all chains. Here's an optional filter for airports. So if I wanted to look at just JFK or just LaGuardia, I could add those airports in here. I'm going to display all for you here. I'm going to pick display totals. It's going to ask me for a title here. I'm going to do people once again. And I'm just going to do one issue against the other. So I'm going to pick issue 2011-16. Here is where you could pick different ranges. You could pick different issues. This is a great way to compare one year versus the other. Also to compare one title against its competitor. So I'm going to pick two issues of people just to give you an example here to show you what it looks like. And I'm going to pick issue 2011-15. So now what this report is running is it's running basically a total draw sale by airport for People magazine, and what it's doing is it's looking at one issue next to the other. So in our middle column there, we're going to have issue 2011-16. In the right column, we're going to have issue 2011-15. So like I said, these ranges are pretty versatile. You can pick, you know, the first 4 months worth of issues in one range and the next 4 months of issues in the other range. So you can do that as much as you want, and I believe you can do up to 6 different ranges here. So now you can see that we've added the airport functionality in here. So this is broken out by all the airports that Hudson North Bergen is currently servicing. As you can see them all here, if we were to click onto one airport, it would drill down into those locations of that actual airport. So this is really neat for us because a lot of times, you know, you have dealer numbers from the agency, you have address information, but you're not really sure if that's a gas station or a convenience store outside the airport, or if this is an actual terminal account inside the airport. So this is nice to be able to lump it into airports, and also what you can do here is maybe do a comparison of one airport against the other. Maybe compare how People's doing in JFK versus LaGuardia. So the possibilities are endless here, and this is something that we're really excited about. We currently have 1 or 2 reports with this airport information, as well as this airport information available in Query Studio. We plan on adding this functionality to other reports, you know, as we go on. So let me know how you feel about these reports. Let me know if this is something that is valuable to you, and we will continue to add it to our existing reports. The next thing that I want to show is the dynamic bucket report. And for many of you that are already clients, you realize that we have what we call a bucket report that basically lets you pick a title and pick a wholesaler set or a chain set. And basically what it does is it lets you segregate those sales into particular buckets. Now in the past we've had predefined buckets. We've had 0 to 1 copy sale, 1 to 5 copies sale, 5 to 10, 10 to 25, and 25 above. We've received a lot of feedback from our clients saying that, hey, you know, your buckets are great, but I want to define my own buckets. So what we've done now is actually build that functionality so that a user can go in and create their own buckets, so they can segregate dealers based on the title and based on the number of copies that it's selling. So what I'm going to do here is run that report. This is something that's out there as we speak in production. I'm going to pick News Group Atlanta. And for a title, let's change it up here. Let's do, actually it's asking me for a chain. So here's another example of the optional filter. If you wanted to select it and just maybe look at Kroger or just look at 7-Eleven or Walmart, you could do that here. I'm going to do all chains, and I'm going to click next. So those are all optional filters. You don't have to put anything in there. It's asking me for a title. I'm going to do star. And then I'm going to do the current issue. And I'm going to pick issue 2011-17 because it's 5 weeks off sale. And then I'm going to pick, let's pick 16, 15, and 14 to compare it against. And here's where you go in and you create your own buckets. So today, just for the purpose of demonstration, I'm going to show you how we're creating buckets by sale. By all means, we're going to create this so you can do it by efficiency, you can do it by draw, you can do it by dealer count. All of this is to come. This is just an example of the functionality and how it works. So basically, you have 10 separate buckets that you can create here. The first one is required, obviously, because the data has to go somewhere. So in this instance, I'm going to do the first one from the lowest value to 5 copies sold. Then I'm going to go over and I'm going to go to 10 copies sold, then 15, 20, 25, 30. And we could keep going on here. You could obviously create whatever buckets you wanted. Just for the purpose of demonstration, I'm going to just use these here. I'm going to click Validate and Finish. You'll see that it automatically populates my lowest value in that bucket. And then you'll see the report. So basically what we have here is two separate ranges of issues for People magazine, for News Group Atlanta, and we've segregated them, all the dealers, into buckets based on their average units sold for those issues. So the current issue would be issue 2011-17. You're going to see that there's a total of 6,962 dealers selling an average of between 0 and 5 copies sold. In fact, they're selling 1.4 copies average per sold for that issue, and that sale is representing 18.2% of the bucket, or of the total market. So, so this is the lion's share of the dealers out there, and the lion's share of the draw as well. You can see these percentages here. You have your draw percentage, so all of these dealers are taking up 32% of the total draw of People magazine. Our second bucket is are the dealers averaging 6.6 units sold on that issue, and you can see that they're taking up 23% of the total sale of People magazine for that issue. So here's where you could filter this down once again by wholesaler, maybe filter it down by chain, and you could really make some distribution changes if you were seeing, for example, a large percentage of your draw going to dealers that were selling only half a copy sold or selling 0 copies sold. So in this instance, we have 32% of our total draw going to dealers that are only selling 1 copy. It may make sense to shift the distribution to some of these higher selling buckets. So this is, like I said, 2 different time periods. We did the current issue, 2011-17, compared against the average of the previous 3 issues. So issues 16, 15, and 14. And you can see that the functionality on the right is the same. It is averages across those issues, so you have your buckets here as well. Okay? So we're really excited about that report. That's something that I know I'll use myself, creating my own buckets. It's another level of making this not just a reporting tool, but an analytical tool where you can kind of create your own logic. It's not you go in there and you get a report and you run it and that's it. We want the report to be as versatile as possible. We want you to have all of these optional filters where you can pick chains, you can pick wholesalers, you can pick airports, you can pick classes of trade, you can pick all of these things so that when you get the final set of data, you don't have to filter it, you don't have to sort it, you don't have to delete things that you don't want. It should be your exact result set. So all of these reports, you know, like all of the other reports, can be scheduled to run and show up in your email. All of them can be updated at any frequency, and all of that information is in the previous webinar. But just think about the possibilities of these dynamic reports and creating your own buckets for them to be automated and delivered to you, you know, let's say every Monday morning. So, so that's that. The next thing that I want to show you is really exciting. It's something that we've just started on, and that's the opportunity reports by region. What I'm going to do here is click on this number 4, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this for Hudson North Bergen once again. And then it's asking me for a title. So I'm going to pick, let's do Men's Health Special. What I can do here is come in here and type in men's, and I believe it's 3391. There it is. Let's click next. I'm going to pick issue 2011-3, and let's do drugstores. And then what I'm going to do is actually pick a competitive title. So for those of you who are familiar with our opportunity reports, what this is going to do is going to look for all the opportunities for Men's Health Special where Men's Health is selling really well. So what I did is I picked the current issue of Men's Health Special, so that way I would know all the dealers that are currently getting Men's Health Special, and I'm going to exclude those from our result set. So this is going to show me all the dealers that aren't getting Men's Health Special, however, Men's Health is doing very well in. So I'm going to pick Men's Health. I'm going to pick 3 issues here just to get a good average. I'm going to pick 12, 11, and 10. And then I'm going to leave it, let's just leave it at 2 copies sold. So all of these stores are going to be stores where Men's Health is selling on average 2 copies sold across those issues, across that time period, and Men's Health Special is not going. So many of you that use our system realize that these opportunity reports are probably our most valuable report, as well as the bucket report, and we've kind of taken it another level. Okay, so what you can see is I picked Hudson North Bergen, so obviously all of these little dots are going to be where they're servicing stores. As you can see, this is a map, and this is basically highlighting all the dealers where we see potential opportunities for Men's Health Special. If you zoom in here, just like you would on a normal map, it'll zoom in, and it takes a second to clear up, just like any other map. And you can actually zero in on some dealers. One thing I'm going to do here is come in and let this clear up here, and then I'm going to actually show the legend here so you can realize what's going on. So what we've done is we've kind of highlighted a bunch of dealers here, and as you scroll over them, it'll actually show you the draw sale information for Men's Health, and that way you can really identify the potential opportunities. This legend is actually filtering by efficiency, so the darker the, I guess not really the darker, the greener the dot, the more we see as a potential opportunity here. So here you can see them all. Obviously, all of these reports can be exported. As you scroll over, you can identify other opportunities here. So this particular store right here in East Meadow is currently drawing 28 copies and selling 9 of Men's Health magazine, selling at a 32% average efficiency. However, Men's Health Special is not going to the store. So this is a potential opportunity for Men's Health Special. We have this currently filtered by efficiency. You could certainly change that. You could put in your dealer number here. You could scroll over it. And keep in mind we picked Hudson North Bergen, so this is dealer number 40220. You have your draw sale information. And we've also included the data set over here on the right. So when you export it, you have all of those dealers, and then you have the screenshot of the map on the left. So this is something that we're really excited about, basically taking our dealer level information, throwing it on a map, and then putting data points on it based on how the store is performing. So we could do this, basically by any subset. We could do this for one wholesaler. We could do this for one chain. We could do this for one class of trade. This is just the functionality, and this shows you what we're trying to do with our data to make it better for you, to make it better for the wholesalers, to make it better for the publishers, to make it better for whomever out there. So this is something that we're currently working very hard at adding. We're very, very close. As you can see, we have probably 4 or 5 of these reports already available that are doing stuff similar like this, and we're really excited about it. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go back to my home screen, and I'm going to switch over, and instead of focusing on just maps and retail locations, I want to actually focus on some of the demographic information that we're now linking up to our dealer information. So one thing that we're doing now is we're gathering demographic information on stores. And we're able to use that to identify potential opportunities for magazines and wholesalers to expand their distribution or shift their distribution. And one thing that I'm going to show you here is our ability to segregate dealers into what we call a rural or a cosmopolitan demographic. We also have the ability to create our own demographic. So if we wanted to come in and say this store sold a total number of magazine dollars across, this time period and create our own demographic and only include the stores within that set, we can certainly do that. So the first thing I'm going to do here is pick my wholesaler. And let's change it up here. Let's do Mercury Grand Prairie. And let's do supermarkets ought to be good. And let's look for an opportunity. Instead of doing Men's Health Special, let's do People in Espanol. And I'm going to pick 3 issues here. Let's do the first 3 of the year. 2, 3, and 4 versus the current issue, 2011, 6. All right, click next. And then it's going to basically ask us what demographic do we want to do this reporting on. As I said, we have it currently segregated into 3 demographics. We have cosmopolitan, rural, and urban. We also have a demo demographic that we've created. So I've created my own demographic here, and you'll see as I pull up the stores, it's basically a subset of dealers based on their total annual copies sold. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to leave it at 2. Basically what this is going to show us is all the stores out there within this demographic that I created that are potential opportunities for people in Espanol. So this is going to identify stores within the supermarket class of trade where I think, based on demographic information, it's a potential opportunity for people in Espanol. This report takes a little longer to run because it's running a lot of different things for the particular store. So as this runs, I'm sure you can realize the amount of data this is crunching and also creating all of these data points to be put on a map. That's something that we're really happy with, and how fast this stuff is coming back. But as you know from all of our static reports, we're constantly trying to make these perform as fast as we can. Okay. All right, so as you can see, I picked Mercury Grand Prairie, and this basically identified what we would say stores that are currently serviced by them. However, they have a potential opportunity of pushing people in Espanol to their stores. Now, keep in mind, I have the ability to filter this to any class of trade, so I could have filtered this to, drugstores, but I chose supermarket in this case. In this case, we have this dealer. It is a Marvin's Grocers, serviced by Mercury, and it is here. Here's its address information: U.S. Highway 64 East, City Beyond, State, Oklahoma, and the zip code. So there's that. As you can see, if you scroll here to the right, once again, actually, I can add my set here. Change this to dealer number, for example, and then I could actually get the dealer number. Yep, dealer number 86208. You can see there on the top. And as I scroll here to the right, once again, we have the complete data set of dealers that we identify as potential opportunities. So they're within the demographic that I created. It shows you the store information. It shows you the cosmopolitan percentage. So that's the number of people that are coming into the store that live in cosmopolitan areas. And it shows the commodity volume for the actual retailer or the actual dealer. So out of all of these dealers on this list, these are the ones that we've identified as potential opportunities. And as you can see, there's quite a few out there. And this is something new that we're building on and trying to help identify, what is an opportunity, what isn't an opportunity, and that's all in that demographic creation process. So you'll see there's a bunch here in Dallas. And I really like the ability to move around within the maps and the ability of how it refreshes pretty quickly, and how you can really get down to the street level and say, oh, this is the store over on Highway 6. So I'm sure you can imagine as a wholesaler, if you're creating routes or if you want to add a particular dealer to a route or something like that, or segregating these into different routes, this could be particularly helpful. Okay? That's all I got to show you on that. All right, so we're through with number 5. We're going to move on to number 6. This is something that I touched on in the opening that we're really excited about, and it's the thought process of active reports. So we want to get past the idea that an active report is something that a report is something that you export from our site and then you're done with it. We want to get past that idea. We want the data to come to you, and we want you to be able to manipulate the data. An active report is something that is really exciting from the standpoint of higher-level executives using it, because the data is there, and they can basically create the query, or they can filter the data down with it being offline. They don't need to be attached to our database. They don't need to be logged into our reporting tool and creating reports. This is something that is going to be stored in this MHT file, stored on their desktop or stored on their portable device, and then they can do reporting on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into a report view, a report that all of you are probably familiar with. And what this is a multi-issue draw sale by agency report. It's pretty simple. It's a drill down from a target efficiency report. What this report is it's People magazine. It includes all wholesalers for all issues between 5 and 57. So this is their draw sale numbers, average per dealer, average sale per dealer, average draw per dealer for all these different agencies. So this is something that you're very familiar with. Well, what we're doing is adding the functionality to export this report. What I've done is I've exported it to my desktop here. And as you can see, it's opening this file in a separate tab of my browser. So if I wasn't connected to the internet, it would still open this the same way. So this is a file that opens in your browser, however, you do not have to be online. So it's important to clarify that. You could open this while you're not connected to the internet or something like that. So here's this same report, however, it's available offline. So all the data is behind this report within the MHT file, and as you can see here, you have filters. So if I wanted to come in here and filter down to just the news group, I could click it, and it's going to change the reporting as we do it. If I wanted to look at just Ingram, if I wanted to look at Benjamin, if I wanted to look at Hudson. And because the data is already there, it's instant. You don't have to sit there and wait for it to refresh. It will automatically be there. The data is hidden behind the file itself, so that if somebody were to look at this and they wanted to switch wholesalers or switch classes of trade or switch chains or switch airports, it would all be instant. So this is something that we have the ability to do on all of our 110 static reports out there. It's a matter of doing it and making it available for our clients. So as you can see, I went pretty quickly, but the file looks like this. It's an MHT file, and when you click on it, like I said, it opens it in a new browser. And there you go. So you have the active report. So you can imagine any of our static reports out there, any of the ones that I showed you here today, or any of the ones that you've used in the past. If you could run that for a bunch of data, and then come in here while you're offline and actually change the data on the go. Have that file automatically emailed to you, so you could you could load it onto your desktop, or load it onto your laptop or your portable device, and then when you go out on the field, you could certainly change wholesalers or change classes of trade or change titles. All of that functionality is available. So that's something that we're certainly excited about. All right, I'm going to close that. I'm going to go back to the home screen. All right, so number 7, our second to the last thing. This is something, as you've noticed, as we've gone down the list, we've gone from some of the simpler things of report name and export, and some things that we've gone down to are a little more complicated or a little more complex. This is something that you would think to be complex. However, once you see the ease of use of doing this, I think you'll realize that it's actually pretty easy. So this is a report that I've actually created. I actually created it this morning in Query Studio. And basically what it is it's a roll-up by wholesaler group for every issue of Star Magazine. And it gives you the draw return sale, efficiency, which is a calculation field, which I've created, as well as a unique dealer count by issue by wholesaler group. So this is something that I created in Query Studio. I've saved it to my folders. You saw it in my folders there, and that's how I got to this. Now what I'm able to do is I'm able to launch, instead of launching Query Studio, I'm going to launch Business Insight. And this is something that we're really excited about. This is something that all of us here around the office are beginning to start to use. And what it is it's a dashboard creator. You can basically come in and create your own dashboard without report writing knowledge. You could come in, and as long as you're familiar with the data, as long as you know how to work Query Studio, you can come in and create your own dashboard. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go into my folders. I did a create new there. It was very simple. I'm going to go into my folders. I'm going to go into the Webinar 2 folder. And you'll see that this is the exact report that we were just looking at in Query Studio. And I'm going to drag that report into my dashboard. Aha, so there it is. So I've dragged that report into my dashboard now. And you can see that it's got multiple pages on here. I can resize it. I can change it. You can sort and filter the data as if you were doing it in Query Studio. All that functionality is in here. You can change the layout. You can add styles to it. You can change the size. So you're basically manipulating your own dashboard here. One thing that's neat that you can do now is what we call adding filters, or in the toolbox here, it's called a select value filter. So what I'm going to do is pull this over and put it right here. So basically what it's going to say is, hey, what do you want to filter on? Well, in this case, I could filter by 2 different things, right? I could filter by wholesaler group, or I could filter by issue code. Just for the purpose of the demonstration, I'm going to pick wholesaler group. Okay, and it's going to ask me, do I want a single value or do I want multiple values? We'll leave it as multiple values. Do I want checkboxes? Do I want lists? You can rename it as whatever you want here. So I'm going to leave this all as default. I'm going to click OK. So as you can see, what it did here is it added this filter, this select value filter over here on the right. So if I wanted to, instead of including all wholesalers, if I wanted to uncheck that and I only wanted to include Hudson and click Apply, it's only going to give me the Hudson issues. If I wanted to only include Hudson and Independent and click Apply, it's only going to include that. So now you could see that I could add these filters for issue code, and you could pick just Hudson dealers for issue code 10 or issue code 2011-12 and so on. So this is one of the things that you can do. Another type of filter that you can add. Now keep in mind, this is a report that I created in Query Studio in 5 minutes. If this is something that you use every week, and you want to come in and you want to create a dashboard, so you don't have to come in and rerun the report. You just want to load this dashboard. and you sign in and you want to just look at Hudson dealers, you want to click apply, or you wanted to change this title, anything that you can create in Query Studio or anything that we have in our static reports, you can build into this dashboard so that when you come in, it's automatically refreshed for you. It's important to realize that the data in this dashboard is live. We're automatically hitting the data. As long as that report is live in Query Studio, the data that's in here is going to be live. So once again, I'm going to apply just Hudson. I'm gonna add another kind of filter that's even more exciting. It's called a slide filter. I'll put that right here. And let's see, what do we want to filter on? Let's filter on efficiency. And you can set the different values for a slider, or you can set a max or a min value here. We're going to leave it as, let's leave it as default here, lowest to highest. Hit OK. So now what you can see is if I wanted to actually resize this guy, actually what you can do here is arrange all to fit. There you go. If I wanted to adjust this guy to only include, you can play around with this and move it wherever you fit, to only include dealers. Now keep in mind, you know, we're looking at just Hudson here, so if we wanted to do select all, click apply. If we wanted to do only dealers or only issues, excuse me, that are selling between 20 and 30% efficiency. Boom. You can see that all of these issues have now changed. All of this data is changing. Let's say if we want to, instead of looking at the whole country, let's just look at select or news group. So it's going to return only the issues that sold at this efficiency, between 20 and 30. If we were to bump this down to 15%, it's going to change this reporting automatically. So this data is live, and this dashboard we just created is live as well. So as you can imagine, any of the reports out there that you've created, be it a pivot table, be it sales year over year, quarter over quarter, market share, any kind of information like that, profitability of a title, distribution opportunities, if you were to add those reports with the same criteria to this dashboard and the data were to automatically populate, you could have filters like I just added on any of the different data dimensions, how valuable this could be. So this is something that we're really excited about. This is something that I'm personally using a lot of, just because there's a lot of reports that I use every day. There's a lot of reports that I look at every day, and instead of having them come in my email and opening up a bunch of different reports, why not have a dashboard with 5 or 6 different reports on them? I come in, I fire up that dashboard, the data is live, so I can just see the updated data. You know, I can filter it, I can change it. You know, I can export it if I want, but most importantly, it's on the dashboard. It's there. It's live. So I can get information as soon as I log in to the business intelligence tool. A couple other things that you can do in here. Obviously, I touched on layout and style. You can change the colors. You can change the formatting. You can change all of that fun stuff. Don't want to bore you with that today. You can also insert web pages. If you wanted to insert the New York Times, if you wanted to insert, you know, maybe your email inbox. You know, it's just like any of these other dashboards that maybe you've created with other applications. You can basically add your own little pieces here. You could add RSS feeds. You can add images. You can add, like I said, web pages, text information. So all of this is just a matter of creating your own little dashboard here with all your little widgets of what information you need. Okay? So you can see that quickly I created a dashboard. Obviously, you could put a lot more time into this to create something that is a lot more complex, but real quickly I created a report, I threw it into the dashboard, and now it's basically updated live, and I can come in and get this data whenever I need to. Okay, so the next thing that I want to show you is the final thing, And this is the idea of external data sources. So basically, what we've received from a number of our clients is questions about, hey, I don't always want to pull this data down and then do VLOOKUPs or run macros to line up this data against my own numbers. Is there any way to pull in my own data to Query Studio? Well, up until now there hasn't been, but now there is. So that's something that we're very excited about. It's something that we're still tinkering with, but it's something that we think there's a huge need for. So it's something that is available and in production right now. It's a matter of determining who out there is going to use it. We feel like there's a great demand for it. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how something like that is possible. Here's a sample report that I created in Query Studio, basically just pulling basic information. You have your BiPAD number and your BiPAD title for a particular BiPAD set. Let's say this were all the BiPADs that you currently were publishing or something like that. So I've exported this report, and I've exported it to my desktop and called it Sample DB. What I'm going to do here now is I'm going to fire up Business Insights Advanced. And although this sounds like Business Insight, it is really something completely different than Business Insights in terms of how it works. The look and feel is the same. The ability to change the layout and the functionality is the same. However, the concepts behind it is totally different. The first one is more about dashboard creation. This one is more about, an upgraded Query Studio or a way of linking data sets together. I'm going to basically create a new list here. Sorry that took so long to load. All right, so this is something that you're probably all familiar with. These are all of our data sets. For all of you Query Studio users out there, you're very familiar with the ins and outs of each one of these. And for those of you who aren't, basically what Query Studio is a tool that lets you drag and drop, as you saw in some of the previous reports, any of our data dimensions and create your own reports. I can tell you that a lot of our clients, especially the very data-driven clients, are in that tool every day, all day long, using it to create their own reports, create filters on it, create crosstabs and pivots, to find out up-to-date information on titles. We have all of these different data sets for a reason. They're all at different levels so that you can get performance. The most common one that we currently use is Wholesaler Summary, which basically has data down to the wholesaler level, including all your issue information. And basically what you can see here is that it has basically every piece of data, every data dimension that we have in our system, and it gives you the ability to drag and drop it and create your own reports. So what I'm going to do here now, instead of just pulling in different data sets and creating my own report, which most of you may know how to do already, I'm actually going to import my own data set. So what I'm going to do is right-click on Wholesaler O&R Data. I'm going to go to Manage External Data. And what I'm going to do is actually select that data. Now what I've done, and this is probably important to point out, is what I've done is I've gone ahead and I've taken this sample database and I've put in profitability in here. So I've put in a random number that represents the profitability of the title. I probably should have mentioned this when I created the report, but basically I came up with a set of BiPADs and titles. I came in and I put in a random number that, let's just say, I'm representing as the profitability of the title. So that's something that I've stored on my desktop here. And now what I'm going to do is actually import that into the tool. So I'm going to click Browse. I'm going to go back to my desktop. I'm going to go to Sample DB. It's asking me which data dimensions do I want to import. I click Next. So here's all the different data sets on the actual Excel spreadsheet of my own data that I've created. This could be something that you got from us, or this could be something that you create on your own, some sort of analysis that a user would create on their own and come up with a profitability for a title or an issue. Any sort of data set that you have, as long as the headers are the same as ours, you should be able to link that data. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to link that data to something we already have. So I'm going to go into Wholesaler Summary. I'm going to pick the issue framework. I'm going to click OK. I'm going to create a link between the primary key of the BiPAD number on our database with the BiPAD number in the issue of our Wholesaler Summary. And create new link. I'm going to click Next. Here's the format of the data dimensions, how you want them to be stored. You could certainly change that if you needed to. And here is a number of different options that you could include or exclude rows with missing values. I'm going to go ahead and include the rows with missing values. And then I'm going to click Finish. Now what it's doing is going through that database that we created, or that Excel spreadsheet that we created, validating the data, and then adding it almost as its own set of data inside the Query Studio or Business Insights Advanced tool. Okay, so now what you can see is instead of just having our little data sets here, we have a new one called Sample DB. So now that we have one that's basically imported here, we have our imported database, and it's called Sample DB, and it has a number of different data sets that we created in our own analysis in our own database. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to come into Wholesaler Summary. I'm going to pull in BiPAD number from our normal Wholesaler Summary field. I'm going to pull in BiPAD title from our normal wholesaler. Oh, didn't drag it over right. Let's do this again. BiPAD title. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here to our new database, and maybe I want to drag in my own profitability calculation. And as you can see, there are some BiPADs in here that we do not have a profit for, so it's important to mention that all of them would not be populated here. However, if I do a sort, I believe you can do a sort here. Do a sort descending. There you go. So now what we've done is we've linked in, wholesaler level information from Magnet to our own profitability numbers. I could come in here and pull in, let's say if I wanted to pull in something that's unique to the title. Let's say I wanted to pull in national distributor name. If I wanted to pull in publisher, if I wanted to pull in UPC number, any of that information can now be linked to the database that we created on our own side with our own profitability numbers. So that quickly I created my own data set, merged it with MagNet's data set, and now I'm available to do querying on it. It's important to point out that there is security behind this. Once you create this sample database, it is stored in your My Folders, and you're the only one that can see it. And you can delete this at any time. So this is something that we're really excited about. something that's brand new and something that we're tinkering with as well. However, there has been a huge request for this, so we're happy to bring this to our users, and we think that they'll be able to use it and create their businesses more profit and more effective reporting. All right, so I'll show you real quick. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to close this. Obviously, this is one report that we could what we created. You could create multiple reports. And as you can see here in your My Folders, if I were to click on My Folders, here's where we have the wholesaler O&R data, external data. So this is where the external data and the databases would be stored if we were to store it. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and delete that. And that is basically all I have on my plate here. I hope that I showed you a number of things that you could be excited on. I hope that you're as excited about the data and the possibilities as I am. I appreciate your feedback. I'm going to hand it back over to Josh. Please feel free to email me with any questions, or if you're interested in any of the things that you saw today. I also am going to include the video webinar in an email with a follow-up. I will include the original video recording as well. So here's Josh.
Thanks everybody again for joining. I appreciate all of the folks that have come in and listened to us speak about the things that we're dealing with right here at Magnet. I hope that you found it interesting, and certainly we would appreciate feedback, good and bad. Hopefully you will get more good than bad so that we can make these webinars more valuable as we go on. The first one we did was attended by about 40 people. This one we've got about 100 today, so I think that the interest is continuing to grow, so we want to make sure that the time we spend here, everybody's time is valuable. Hopefully we can continue to make it better and better, and if there's anything that you'd like to see included or not included, or types of things that we can show going forward, we certainly want to do that, so please send your feedback our way. Thanks again.
Thanks, everyone.